here again. I love Marlene's. It's hold on a second. Let's get rid of that. I think I clicked on the right thing. I don't know. Outside of my own portal, I'm just like when it comes to technology. And I was gonna say I still need to borrow your background there one of these days.
Oh yes,
That is mine. That's my background. No, it looks good with you too. Okay. Well, I told Elizabeth that, I was looking at topics and I thought, well, fruits and veggies would be a good one. And I thought that would be pretty easy to do. And then I got into it. It's like, wow, there's just so much. It really is so much when it comes to fruits and veggies. So this is just a generalized presentation, hopefully to be able to mostly to inspire those who want to know maybe more of what's so important about them and how to get them in our diet more and why that's important. And so that's pretty much what this is. And we're going to go over a few obstacles that can get in the way for some people as well. I want to start out by saying that, we have people entering. So is somebody else handling that when people are coming in, or am I supposed to be clicking on those? I'm not sure.
I got you, Kathy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You're great. You're great. But it's been a long time since I've been in Marlene. I think a few weeks now that I haven't been there, so I need to get back for sure. Okay, so I wanted to start out by saying a little disclaimer. This is just generalized nutrition advice. Some people can have conditions where they really shouldn't be eating some of the things that might be said. So it's just very generalized for the general public. Okay. Okay. So I myself am a registered dietitian nutritionist, been helping people all over Washington state to lose weight, to help them to reduce blood sugar numbers, cholesterol numbers, to get off even some medications or reduce them, and to improve GI health with many different clients. So that's been really great. Just today, I'm so glad to hear that there was one client who had a fasting blood sugar in the 120s, and she's down to the 90s now. So within a couple of months of some good work. So it takes good clients, and I love to help them when they're very motivated. So I've been helping clients for a while now and have my own private practice. I do take many insurance plans. So that's something that a lot of people don't know that they can see a dietitian and get that covered. A lot of them don't. So they're always saying, well, how would I pay for that? Well, do you have health insurance? That's one way to start. So that's very good to know. So again, we're going to find out why we should eat more fruits and veggies, some of the nutrients they provide, and what they can do for disease prevention, how we can increase our intake, and dealing with a few obstacles as well. So a few fun facts that you may not know. Sometimes I like to appeal to people to let them know when they're trying to figure out how they should eat more fruits and vegetables, or they're not sure that they're eating that many to begin with, is that only 1 in 10 of Americans, according to the CDC, are eating the recommended 5 to 9 servings a day. So that's basically 90% of us are not doing that. So that's really interesting. So that can motivate some people who are very competitive, maybe, to see if they can meet that. And yeah, and so only 10%, 1 in every 10. So 5 to 9, that recommendation comes from different things. Like if you are maybe a smaller person who is not as active, as opposed to a taller person with more energy needs, that definitely will go up. There's been some talk of up to 13 too, but usually 5 to 9 is what we're hearing mostly. So food is medicine. I don't know if you've heard that before, but there are numerous chemicals in foods, fruits and vegetables, and grains and other food groups. We're focusing on fruits and vegetables today, and they literally are disease fighting. It's really fascinating. Just for one example, sulforaphane, one of the primary phytochemicals in broccoli and other cruciferous vegetables that can help prevent cancer, has been shown for the first time to selectively target and kill cancer cells while leaving normal cells unaffected. Is that not amazing or what? I just, this is one of the reasons that I decided not to be a doctor, but to be a dietitian, because there's so much power in food itself. So just this right here is just enough to, make me want to go into this profession, that and things like that. Did you know that fruits and vegetable intake are also associated with a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and all-cause mortality as well? So there have been some saying that if we went on a mostly plant-based diet, you can put that any way you want. It could be, some say vegan, some say vegetarian, some say just plant-focused. There's some saying that we could eradicate a lot of the top killers in our country, because a lot of them are diet related. So that is, again, huge. And that's a pizza, by the way, that last picture, if you didn't, probably could figure that out. So let food be thy medicine. Hippocrates right here, eating many fruits and vegetables in place of fast food and junk food, people could avoid obesity. Definitely, for sure. So some more benefits. Let's break it down a little bit more. They have a high antioxidant polyphenol content that fight free radicals and oxidation. So the picture here that you see, when people think of oxidating, what does that mean? So one example I like to bring up is how the apple you see right here, as soon as it's cut and just sitting there, it's starting to get oxidized. So the lemon juice you can think of as what has strong antioxidants. So that is going to, have you ever heard of the trick when you are making a fruit salad or having fruit lay out for a while? If you have that lemon juice on it, it will help prevent the apple browning, at least for a while. So that is the antioxidant working on that fruit. So think of that in our bodies as well, causing us to not maybe brown, so to speak, but just to stay fresher a little longer, if you want to see it that way. So that's just really, really powerful and visual that I like to. We were trying to find a lemon with the drops coming down. That didn't work out. So hopefully this will still have the same picture in your mind to know that that can help. Also, fruits and vegetables have a very high fiber content usually. Think of squashes and apple skin and things like that, you know. The strings and the vegetable, little strings and the oranges that people you and throw out, that's all fiber. It's all good for the gut biome. Very, very good. They have multiple nutrients and vitamins that help the body function properly and optimally. They're great for weight management, which we're going to go into a little more detail later. And have a high water content and helps with hydration. There's a lot of need for hydration. There's some talk about people in the northern areas may actually be more dehydrated than they thought because of all the sweaters and jackets and scarves and things like that, just sucking up all that moisture within us. And that's one thing to keep in mind, is that even in the northern areas, we still can get very dehydrated. Some more benefits, dark greens. If you ever heard of the Mind diet, it's a different take on the Mediterranean. And it's also has different aspects of trying to help people in old age to keep their mental ability sharp for longer. And so the Mediterranean diet is really good for that. And the dark greens were found to be one of the things you should consume almost just about every day to have that benefit. So that's very good for brain health. Dark greens, vegetable fruit intake, good for the elderly and longevity, and helps keep skin looking good and youthful. Helps to keep diseases at bay, like I said before. Just an example of that is folate. So folate, or sometimes known as folic acid, helps prevent birth defects, for example, and helps the DNA to be expressed properly. If we get our DNA not expressed properly, that usually means cancer and other things like that that we don't want. We want that to be definitely moving along the right way. So dark greens such as collard and kale also keep our bones strong because they have a very good calcium content as well. Some have compared to be just as good, if not better than milk in some regards. And so many other nutrients, just jam-packed with nutrients, depending on which fruit and vegetable we're looking at: magnesium, folate, potassium, vitamin C, E, K, Bs, and so many more. The magnesium, for example, is involved in over 300 enzymes in the body, different enzyme processes. And potassium, also so good for blood pressure and so many other things in the body as well. And so those are very, very important. And we need a lot of it. I'm seeing a lot of people on all these diets and things, and it's very disturbing because, for example, one thing I'm seeing that's very popular these days, and you have to be careful with things like intermittent fasting and things like that, is that they're restricting only 2 meals a day, but there's so many nutrients that we need that are not really good to always be in supplement form. So just take potassium, for example. You need roughly somewhere between 3,000 and 4,700 milligrams a day, and one banana has only 400. So if that's the case, those are some pretty big meals, I'd say. It's gonna be only 2 meals a day to get all these nutrients in that we need per day. Like vitamin C, you need around 90 milligrams a day, and one little orange little tangerine, like those little halos, might have like 30 or something like that. So it's just a lot of food we need to be eating. Fruits and vegetables help us to do that without gaining a lot of weight, which we'll talk about also. So just a lot of nutrition with not a lot of time. It's another way to look at it. Okay. So another thing to keep in mind is I hear a lot about, well, you know, I eat my carrots and my peas, or eat my carrots and my lettuce, or whatever it is, and there's not a good variety with some people. And so it's very important that we all try to get what's called Eat a Rainbow. It's a slogan and it sounds cute, but it really is a lot more scientific than it sounds, because each color represents a different antioxidant that's doing different things. So we didn't know that long ago, but even the white pigments of mushrooms and cauliflower have their own benefits in yellow, red, purple, and green. So the white pigments are the anthocyanins, the flavones. The yellow and orange pigments are the zeaxanthins, which has the beta carotene. The red pigments are the lycopene. The purple, my favorite, is the anthocyanins. And of course, the green of the chlorophyll. Those are all very important. They all do different functions, as you can see here. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but if you can see that, they all have their different benefits. And there are also hundreds, if not thousands, of different antioxidants as well. Some of the ones that have the highest ranking of the different antioxidants that having that much in the same amount of food is blueberries, beets, dark chocolate. So those of you who love chocolate would be very happy to hear that. And so many others that are very high in antioxidants. Some would call it the ORAC score. So I love my clients. I love what I do, but if I hear anything more about lettuce, I'm trying to be patient. And I understand. And I know how it goes. We love our lettuce and that's great. And lettuce has nutrition. I hear some people say that no, lettuce doesn't have anything in it. Well, look at the far right column. It has stuff, right? As you can see, it does. But look at kale and spinach and even arugula. So it's very important to, if I could share a strategy, one thing I like to do is kind of keep the lettuce for when we're eating out and the restaurant doesn't have anything better. But at home, we try never to touch lettuce because it's already out there. It's already people, restaurants and other places, you go to the ball game, anywhere, if they even have lettuce there at all, is just lettuce. They usually don't have a lot more than that when you're eating out. So you can see right here that just vitamin A, which is very good for the eye health and skin health, immune health, and much more. Take a look at kale right there and spinach, both. So they're both pretty good. Spinach, when I ask about calcium needs with clients, they say, well, I get my spinach with the dark greens, but spinach is not the best for calcium. It's kale over spinach for sure, because of the oxalate content for one. So the calcium is, as you can see, they're 150 milligrams for kale, 99 for spinach. And so that's a good thing. It does have some. So each vegetable and each fruit definitely has different things. So we can't get too hooked on just one or a couple of them. We definitely have to learn to get a variety depending on what we're needing. Okay. And speaking of one of the most powerful vegetables out there, it is seaweed. We don't normally go into a grocery store and get the bag and, you put the produce in the bag of seaweed usually. So it's not that commonly purchased, but it is something we really need to look into more. I would like to be a specialist of seaweed. I'm not, but I'm definitely looking into more studies about it. I know that there's a few out there that are very common, like kelp and nori and dulce. And so those are pretty good. Usually the nori's and seaweed, sushi that people most commonly think of. And so those are some ways. And also some other ways I've heard are sprinkling kelp or other powdered seaweed on popcorn, or making a sushi burrito, or adding it to stir fries, and just different things that you can do there. Has a saltiness to it that can be good for those who may be trying to avoid salt too much. And also one of the few ways to get omega-3s in for vegans. So yes, you don't have to be stuck with fish. You can definitely get your omega-3s in other ways, and seaweed is one of them. So one of the ways to increase fruits and vegetables consumption of, I like this because it is a challenge for many. A lot of people I talk to, they know they need to get more in, but there are obstacles for sure. So I'd like to start with trying to get just more into whatever it is you're already eating. So, I love macaroni and cheese. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't. It's a comfort food. It's great. But I hardly have ever had it without our favorites, broccoli and cherry tomatoes thrown in. We used to do canned tomatoes or rotel or something like that. But, just cherry tomatoes and broccoli. We've gotten creative and done some other vegetables as well. So sometimes it can be whatever you have on hand. So that could be good. There is a technique I've heard before, haven't used it too often, where it's pureeing like squashes or zucchinis into sort of a puree that can be blended into things like macaroni and cheese with not many people really noticing. So that was good. It was a good study, small study. So another thing is just throwing them into whatever is other things that you can think that would pair well. So for example, it's kind of challenging for some people to get vegetables into breakfast, but there can be things like sprouts or just shredding different greens to put on avocado toast, for example, which is very popular. And let's see here, like pico de gallo. A lot of people are very pleasantly surprised to find that pico de gallo satisfies some of those requirements because it has onion, cilantro, tomato, all these things in it. Pancakes and fruit, zucchini, like let's say you'd like to make different breads or pumpkin breads or different loaves kind of things. There's so many things you can pack into things like that for added, some people are adding applesauce and banana instead of butter and other things inside their inside of some of their baked goods. So some other ways are to treat it like an adventure. And so maybe instead of so much the portion sizes, just see how many types you can get in, like make a game out of it. Like, did you had 7 bites of 7 different types of fruits and vegetables today? It's maybe one good way to start out. So think of variety more than quantity. A lot of people are on different low carb kicks right now. So just adding more fruits and vegetables instead of some of the carbs that they were eating, the more refined carbs is another way. Trying a new fruit or veggie that you've never tried before. So that's another thing. And another thing is using herbs such as parsley or basil as instead of other whole vegetables inside recipes. So there are different dishes like that. Some you may have heard of, and maybe you have heard of all of these or none of these, we'll see. The tabbouleh, for example, is a Middle Eastern salad that uses a lot of parsley. It's not a sprig or a little bit. It's like, as you can see, it's since it's top left right here. And so it has bulgur or different grain in it and cucumbers and tomato. So it's not even just parsley. So it's a lot of stuff in there. Throw one more protein in there with it and you have pretty much a complete meal at that point because you have the grain and lots of veggies and fruit. Just make tomato. Excuse me, basil pesto can be really good when you add a lot of basil to it. And some people are doing that with the zoodles and things like that. Fresh rolls, one of my favorites. Don't have a picture of them here, but it's usually Thai and Vietnamese restaurants. Some have more vegetables than others. You have to look out for that, but usually very light and fresh. Stir fries, very obviously you can put quite a lot of veggies into a stir fry. Buddha bowls are kind of a new thing these days where it's just a bowl with a grain and a vegetable and sometimes avocado and different things kind of compartmentalized in the bowl. And so those are fun to eat. Pho can have a lot of vegetables if you don't ignore that little plate on the side that has the bean sprouts and the basil, a big old pile of basil and all these other things in it. So pho can be very good for that as well. And get your hydration in, by the way. It's not too salty. That'd be a good choice as well for those trying to drink more fluids. Salad meals, where it's a salad entree, obviously, and then maybe a salmon or a tofu or some other protein with that, beans. Zoodling vegetables now is a good way to, or just, making noodles out of different vegetables are good. Wraps, so yeah, so this is supposed to be a zoodle dish right here. These are some stir fries, and this is a wrap. And some people are doing wraps with, I didn't get a picture of that in, but actually using like collards or other greens as the wrap itself, as the shell of the wrap. Okay, and so there's some people that are more challenged with cooking skills, and so they may not know what to do with their veggies. I will tell you that I like to cook as long as it's not too complicated. I like simple, meals. I love one-pot meals, things like that don't take much time. But there are some things that if you start out knowing, it can be very helpful, like what pairs with what for different kinds of cuisine. So I'm not a chef or certified chef or anything like that, just for the kind of cooking, knowledge that I have when it comes to cooking. For example, Mexican cuisine could include some of these things as you see here that I've noticed, just made notice over the years. Asian dishes might have some of these, Italian here. So backing up to Asian broccoli, bok choy, sprouts, pods, pea pods, bell peppers, corn. Italian could be sun-dried tomato you could try, or zucchini, or spinach, or eggplant would be a good one there. And by the way, I've seen eggplant in Asian as well, Japanese and other types of eggplant, in Asian cooking. Southern also is kind of neat because collard greens are really healthy green, one of the highest calcium contents of any dark green that's typical in the grocery store. And so it's kind of funny because in Southern cuisine, they usually traditionally put bacon and things like that where it's popular. It does not have to be. Heard someone just the other day validate me that they love their collard greens with tomato and garlic and onion and olive oil. So you definitely don't have to have bacon in, which is a red meat. By the way, they lied about that being a white meat. Corn, zucchini, let's see here, what else? And that's right here, represented here in that dish. Okay, and then American is all over the place. We're just kind of fusion anyway over here, but there's just some ideas of what could be included in an American dish. And those again are just very, I mean, these are just very generalized. Of course, a list of veggies could be much longer than that, just to kind of get your thoughts going on it about what goes with what. So another fun fact is that we're up to almost 8 billion people on the earth here, but there are over 200,000 plus species of edible plants. And out of those, we're only having about 1 to 2% of that. So what's in the grocery stores and what's very common in the grocery stores is a tiny fraction of what is actually available. So when I hear people say, well, I don't like any fruits and vegetables, or I don't like any vegetables, I think back at these numbers and I think to myself, well, there are a lot of things they haven't tried. So that's something that's very good to have an adventuresome spirit. And I try to help them with that very patiently to figure out what else can we look into and try. So vegifying every meal, that's another slogan I like to do is like, how can you take the meal that you already like, even if it's a comfort food, even if it's traditionally really unhealthy, and how can we tweak that to make it healthier? For example, maybe use an air fryer for something that's usually a deep fried meal. Right off the top of my head, I can think of fish and chips, for example. Those are pretty good air fried, actually. And so the thing is, what vegetable would pair well with that? So that's something to think about. What vegetable can go with things that even have been considered comfort foods or traditional foods for you? So nature has already provided us with so much food already abundantly, as we saw here, this many. Okay, and these are just the species, not even the actual, plants, the actual things to eat. And so with that said, mankind has provided a lot of processed foods and a lot of different versions of these foods, but we do already, just imagine if we were to appreciate what was already found in nature and just kind of go forward with that with as minimal, altercation as possible. The health of this planet and our people would be just extremely much, much better, for sure. Especially in the developed nations where, a lot of that processing is going on that's unnecessary. So we're going to talk about weight loss and longevity, a couple other topics when it comes to that. This is a very helpful layout I have here at my office out in Gig Harbor. And so I've listed the different calories of the generalized food groups. And so when it comes to weight loss, which one do we all know is the lowest calories? So everyone's got a number. I mean, if whether you count calories or not, it depends on your needs, your activity level, all these things. So the number of calories will go up depending on how much energy you're putting out and what are kind of conditions that you have and how big you are and all that kind of stuff. So you got fats, carbs, and these are just an example of some of the typical carbs we see. Proteins, fruits, veggies, and then we have salad, which are just a loose leaf type vegetables. And these are the thicker ones, usually starchier ones, heavier ones. And so as you can see, 100 calories a spoon and the rest are 4-ounce servings. So it fluctuates greatly with protein, but it goes all the way down to the lowest as being salad and the vegetables. So when people say, well, I'm on a diet and I can barely eat anything, that'd be a lot of vegetables to be able to consume in one day. If they're even on a 1,000 or 1,200 calorie diet, which it doesn't sound like a lot for a lot of people, that's a lot of servings. If let's say any mathematicians out there, because I'm not good during speeches to do my math, 25 calories and within 1,000 calories, that's a lot of vegetables, like numerous servings of it. Now, of course, we need protein at every meal of some kind. So, and there's a little bit of protein in vegetables, by the way, but to get your complete protein and all that kind of stuff, it's best to have a balanced with all these other things in here. Okay. So again, Gosh, I'm on a diet. I don't know what to do. I'm starving. What am I supposed to eat? Okay. So again, I love this diagram because it shows what 500 calories in the stomach looks like. Okay. So if you have 5 tablespoons of oil in there in your stomach, it would be about that full. If you have cheese, looks like just regular fat cheese, it would be about that much. Meat, it looks like they've got red and white there. I'm not sure, but it's about that much. Almost half the stomach is full. Potatoes, beans, and rice, which are, demonized by a lot of times by the low carb crowds, but actually are extremely healthy because they have a lot of fiber and their own nutrients. And so that is getting kind of full here. And then fruits and veggies are close to the top with 500 calories. So like I was saying in the last one, it would take a lot. I see that. Thanks, Elizabeth. So anyway, yeah, so you can see that you definitely can fill up quite a lot with fruits and veggies, and these wouldn't even be that many calories. So a lot of one demonstration I like to give to people is I have, I think it's back here on this picture. Okay, see this little cornbread? I use that. It can be any kind of cakey, bready thing that you want that's refined, like a refined carb. When you take that compared to maybe a small apple, just picture that in your mind for a minute. I don't want to be too simplistic about this, but if it's a refined carb, like really refined, like maybe a piece of cake or something, just really refined carb, the body will take that and use just about all of that and store that. It'll either burn it as energy, store it as fat, or both. And with our sedentary lifestyles, with being in front of a computer all the time, which I'm definitely to blame on that too myself, but just, our lifestyles and this current culture that we live in, for a lot of us, that is probably going to be used as fat. It's going to be stored as fat. Whereas the apple has water, it has fiber, it has vitamins and minerals. So that apple will, I don't know how to say it nicely, but some of it will end up in the bathroom because the body can't use it. It can't use fiber except to exercise the gut, the gut, and to help the gut biome, which is the bacteria in our gut. So the fiber is there for a good purpose, but it's also excreted, and because we can't store it, we can't store fiber. So it's like chewing gum for the insides of us as well. And so that's what I like to say is that, yeah, I'll have refined carbs myself too sometimes, but I just always remember that if I'm not very active, that's going to end up on me, not out of me. Okay, but whereas all these fibrous foods, or all this right here, all this stuff is going to end up, our body will extract what it needs and expel the rest. So that is what is good about that. Okay, so the My Plate. I didn't put the original one on here. It's from the USDA and it's very plain and it has a glass of milk on the side. I don't know if you've seen it, just kind of blue, okay. And it's very simplistic. And so many health agencies have taken that and said, I should have put it on here actually to show you, but so many health agencies have taken that and say, oh, we can improve on it. And so this is just one. Harvard has a really good one I use all the time with my clients. And then Bastyr out near Seattle, they have a really good one too. And they have a vegetarian version, a vegan one too, really good. So basically, because it can get so complicated, okay, but to make it easy is just the My Plate. Basically what it is that half your plate should be fruits and vegetables. And that unfortunately does not include like a lot of potatoes or extremely starchy ones. But in fact, sometimes I just put my potato over here. But the carbs are 25%, the proteins are 25%, and the vegetables and fruit are half the plate. And so this is again generalized. If you are a construction worker, athlete, anyone who's just expelling tons of energy every day, maybe whatever you're doing, it'd probably be a little bit more than this, like it'd be sides and snacks and things added. But in general, this is a very good formula to follow. And if everyone did this, if everyone really did do this, like lean proteins here, and then complex carbs with fiber here, and then the fruits and vegetables here, and this all can be mixed together. It doesn't have to be laid out like you're in a cafeteria every day or something. But if you do this, if he wants to sign up and do this with me, if everybody did this, it would be phenomenal because it would be a major help to the health situation of our country for sure, and the world. So it's just My Plate. It's very simple. It's so easy. I've had clients who are very excited about doing this. They think it makes it easier for them. We have a lot that are tracking. If they can get really good at this, they wouldn't even have to like calorie track. So that would be really good to do. So alongside of this is just to keep in mind that you do need to watch your calcium, avoid to keep the proteins lean, and then choose the complex grains. So there's some other additional things along with exercise, water, and some things that don't have to do directly with nutrition. But these tips here you know, if you could just leave with one thing, it would be that. This would be this. Okay, here's a real life my plate. I was on a Norwegian cruise recently. We've been waiting for years to go on that Alaska cruise, and we finally did. Thank you. Yay. Okay, and so this is my feeble attempt to do a my plate. I was very watching what I was doing on that cruise. And so you can see here that I had to take what they had. And you're on a vacation, you want to eat a few things that you like, right? That may not always be the healthiest, but I did try to do a 1/4 plate with potatoes, and there were bell peppers kind of tucked in there, little pieces of it. I am a sucker for lox, I have to admit. And then there was mixed fruit, lots of good fruit every day. And so the tomato is considered, I try to make it decorative. Do you see the onions and the capers and things? So I did try to do that. So no, that wasn't one of my good, that wasn't one of my totally plant-based or vegan or vegetarian days, but that was just an example anyway for that. Okay, now we're going to talk about the blue zones. So I don't know if you guys have heard about that. Basically, the blue zones are Dan Buettner's efforts he's from National Geographic, and he wanted to find out, so where all these long-lived people live, the centenarians who live to be 100 or more. So those were the areas that they found to have that quality. And so these are the locations. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because plant-heavy diet is right darn in the middle, right there. And that was something in common for all of them, among all these other things. And so the thing is, Loma Linda is a totally vegetarian community, and that's the only place in the United States as well. So as soon as you go out of the city walls, you get strokes and heart attacks. As soon as you go back in Loma Linda, it's fine. They don't have as much of that at all. It's been heavily studied, that community. And they are Seventh-day Adventists, so that's their faith, and usually most of them don't have meat, along with other things, but they factored that out of the caffeine and other things. They've already factored that in and said that plant-based diet was very, very important for that community. All the others do have meat in the diet, but it's not very much so. As you can see, this Italian island, this island of Japan, Costa Rica, a lot of beans and rice, a lot of Greek food here. So the emphasis is not on the meat and potatoes like it is around here in these parts. So it is, again, just more of a condiment or side or something that's not heavily focused on. So let's talk about some obstacles. There are all kinds when it comes to getting in more fruits and vegetables. My kids are a big one, but I have a lot of clients who the little kid inside is still well and alive, still doesn't want those vegetables, still doesn't want them. So what can we do about that? It's very important whether you've got a spouse who has that situation, or you're trying to get your spouse to have more fruits and vegetables, or it could be a kid, a teenager, anyone that's close to you, and you're trying to have them to eat more fruits and vegetables. And you can apply these tips to yourself as well. But it's very important for number one, for kids especially, to show them that you're excited about them yourself. Because one particular situation I've seen is where you have a child who comes from a split family, and the husband and wife, they're divorced or separated, and kids going back and forth. And so the mother says, well, I'm trying to get him to eat more vegetables. I love vegetables. And I say, well, how about your husband? Oh, he hates them. Well, the child is seeing that. So the child is seeing that. And I've seen other situations where a lot of the clients have traumatic situations where the parents were also kind of, doing kind of mean things, forcing the kids to I literally have heard several recently, not too long too distant past here, within the last year or so, who have said they were literally forced to be at the table until they had to finish that. And it's sometimes for hours. So that is not a good way to have kids like vegetables either. So let's go into a few, that's kind of coming up here in a minute. One way is to make it buffet style. So like over at our house, we have kind of a Taco Tuesday thing a lot of times. And so, so we might have the low carb wraps, and we might have the beans and the pico de gallo and jalapenos, and just whatever everybody wants to take, they can take. And we have a try it once rule. So just try it one time. If you don't like it, that's fine. But it is good, though, to kind of reintroduce it in a pleasant environment later on, and at some later date, because a lot of times the palate takes time the brain has to wrap itself around that new food. And so a lot of people give up too soon with their kids. And so it should be pleasant and relaxing and encouraging, but not to the point that it's, like harassment or something like that in an unpleasant environment. Veggie bases, for example, pizza sauce, macaroni soups, and more, those can be made to have vegetables kind of hidden in them if no one will get too upset about that. And also education is very important. As soon as little kids are starting to learn You can say it in very, very simple terminology, like these carrots are good for our eyes. And the vitamin, the tomatoes are good for our skin, and they help you get not getting sick. And just very, very simple elementary language can be used very early on with kids to let them know what's good about the vegetables and fruit. Getting them to help in the kitchen. You probably heard that one. That is really good. They feel like there's some ownership there, and just reminding them, like, oh, you're going to make that meal for us. So that's great. How's this going to be? Tell us about the healthy things you're going to do with that. Pleasant, repetitive, and patient. So as I was saying earlier, sometimes it can take literally weeks to adjust to new tastes. So that can happen. I mean, how many of you think back about the food that you used to hate, and then later on, it's like a few, even years later, that you don't know what happened, but now you like it. It can happen. So it's very important, because of all the reasons we talked about earlier, to do that. Okay, so when eating out and things like that, if you go to the similar places all the time, you start talking to the chef, talk to them, you kind of know the people, it wouldn't hurt to just say things like, oh, I see you have spinach on that dish. Could you maybe move it to this dish that I'd want? Or just kind of talk to them and let them know that you are interested in healthier options. It's not directly related to what we're talking about, but for example, I'm trying to watch the salt when I eat out. It's just notorious everywhere. Almost, I want to say close to 100%. I don't care if it's vegan, vegetarian, anywhere, just too much salt everywhere. So what I've been doing is, like, when I go to Thai restaurants, which is one of my favorites, I'll literally ask, especially if I know them, and even if I don't, sometimes I'll say, can you make this less salt? So just a little sideline tip, just to add less salt or sauce to whatever it is. And a lot of times they do a very good job. And if you think about the worst case scenarios, you can always add a little back if it was just really unedible or something. But most of the times they're doing a really good job. A lot of times almost not good enough, but some of the times they're actually doing a good job, actually, to do it really good, where it tastes pretty good. So anyway, planning your meals for work, trying to figure out how to bring that My Plate to your office. Try to, like, when you're packing your lunch is what I mean. Yeah, and things like that. Sometimes there are, potlucks and things like that. Some people are working in places where their work is really a major hindrance to their weight loss goals, and they're doing a lot of great things at home, and then they go to work and it's just not good with the things that they're doing. So in conclusion, there are some things that we can do, kind of putting some things together. As you see, we have a very processed and junk foody kind of meal here, and then we have, this is a pizza, I think you saw it earlier, but it's just jam packed with vegetables. And it looks like a whole grain crust as well. So pizza can be healthy. Yes, very much. Yes, and we like pizza over here too. So the roadmap to 5 to 9 fruits and veggies a day, what would that be? That we could start out with figuring out how many servings that you're currently having a day, and just be honest with yourself and just start with that. And then decide what you like already, make an inventory of things that you like. Stick those inside what you already eat now. So it almost doesn't matter what it is. I've even been known, it's call me crazy, but I'm a dietitian. So anyway, I've been known to literally take a Ziploc baggie of kale and spinach, just grab it out of the bin, fridge, throw it in. It's very easy. And then take it with me, because I knew where I was going, they wouldn't have that. And I put it in the sandwich. So I've actually done that before. So just stick it inside whatever you already eat, because I knew they were going to have that where I went. Have fruits and veggies as snacks with a lean protein. So it could be like a hummus with veggie sticks, or it could be fruit and nuts, or just things like that. There's some very creative things that you can do with this, with all fruits and vegetables, really. There's so many creative things out there that you can do. It's just, just even looking online, there's just tons of resources. So also, I was saying earlier, if it makes it you feel more comfortable with it, especially people who are not inclined to like a lot of fruits and vegetables, is just maybe focus on how many types you can get in instead of the portion size. Could be one way to go. Treating that as an adventure, making sure every meal has some type of fruit or vegetable. With breakfast, it tends to be more on the fruit side. I usually do fruit very naturally already. In fact, I don't feel at one with nature. I seriously don't. If I am missing a fruit, ask my husband. I'll feel off and I'll say, I didn't have my fruit. So I got to go back and have some fruit. So, and now it's more of a challenge to see if I can get veggies in. So we've been trying the shredded spinach and kale, which is, they come in these big organic bins from the store, very easy to just open up and grab. Make it a game so you can finish one without it going bad, and you can also freeze them if you have to. And The last here, one of the last ones is trying new ones that you've never tried before. And yeah, and then when you go out, try to bring that with you when you go out and about. And so if you do all of these things here, you probably are going to be getting to where you're doing the 5 to 9 and you're in the top 10%. And so we can be very healthy and prevent disease and live a long life and have a good, healthy mind as well. So in concluding, I would like to say that vegetables are a very paramount part of our diet, vegetables and fruit. Most of the American population is not getting the amount that they need. They can help prevent disease a lot. I know we didn't go into that a lot, but they definitely can quite considerably. Let's see here. Just one example off the top of my head on that is Dr. Dean Ornish. He had some studies and some books and research that showed that people going to a plant-based vegan diet back then, when he did his study, literally reverse heart disease. So that was very fascinating. I have to check on his latest. You see here, but pretty much helps every part of the body, for the eyes, to the skin, to the hair, to every single part of you. I can't think of anything it doesn't. They can help with weight loss, longevity. It's some of the longest lived cultures eat a plant-heavy diet, and the obstacles can be surmounted with loss of strategy. That would take some strategy and planning, patience, open-mindedness, and I didn't say here consistency as well. So, because a lot of people start things and they don't keep going, and so it's important to find that motivation to help you to do that. And there's another thing that's not on here I could throw in that I'd like to share is that, you know, I hear people who don't like to drink water and they don't like their fruits and vegetables or vegetables, but, you know, a lot of people do like coffee because it gives you that energy and that kick and that rush. They like that and the taste sometimes, and sometimes they don't. And alcohol, I hate to have to bring up alcohol in my healthy presentation, but, you know, alcohol, a lot of times it doesn't taste that great for a lot of people, but why do they have it? You fill in the blank because of how it makes you feel, right? Okay. We can also learn to like vegetables for how they make us feel. They make you feel great, vegetables and fruit. Now, I know there's some people who have certain conditions and things, just for off the top of my head, diverticulitis, you got to be careful with that one, things like that. There are things that, you know, where, again, it's a case-by-case basis, but very generally speaking, vegetables make you feel great, and fruit. So I would strongly urge that people give it a try and try to slowly go up to the amount of servings they should have a day, which is a minimum of 5. And the serving size, I will tell you, is roughly half a cup for a cooked fruit or vegetable, or just fruits and vegetables, but then a whole cup if they're kind of leafy and, you know, just a lot of air between each piece. So then it's a whole cup. So if you think about it, half a cup is very, very small, 4 ounces. So little kids' cups are about 8 ounces. So we're talking about half of that. So it's just like a little scoop, a little bitty scoop. So that is really not too hard to do. So just getting all those servings in will really make you feel great. And then once you do it, just be really mindful and assess, how do you feel? You know, and also if you do it for a few days, how did your skin start looking better? And did you have more energy? And then that's what really trains people, I think, to say that, you know, like, to me, I get excited when I taste the bitterness of certain greens, because I know that it's got components in there that are helping, you know. Like, so for example, some people hate okra, but it's 40% decreased risk of some cancers with okra. You know, some of the different things that are in there, the different chemicals and things that are inside those fruits and vegetables. So anyway, I hope that you have really enjoyed this presentation. I have a few more things to say about my practice, and we are still taking a few new clients. So we definitely, Christy and I would love to help you to sign up. I've been a dietitian for 12 years now. And I've been helping people mostly with weight management, but the difference between me and other weight loss programs is I'm definitely going alongside whatever health conditions the person has. So let's say you go to, well, I don't want to speak about someone like Weight Watchers or someone like that, because I don't know exactly what they're doing in fine detail, but a lot of those places or diet programs or fads are not always looking at what your conditions are. And so when I help people with weight loss, I'd look to say, I always ask, okay, how's your cholesterol? How's your blood pressure? How's your kidney function? How's your liver function? All these different things. We're looking at all those things while I'm helping someone lose weight. Okay, also elevated blood sugar. I told you about that little success story I just had, which was very nice, made my day. Elevated cholesterol, help with that. GI health, thank you. And so one of the best things I've ever heard people tell me is that, Kathy, I really appreciate how I didn't have to just totally change my diet so much. And you work with my diet, my tastes, and you work with, the way that I eat. And so we make slow changes, and I make sure that people are ready to do those changes and help them to decide on things on their own as well. And so that's all part of it. Okay. So just a little plug for myself here. These are some insurances I take, plans, and we're in network with all of the ones you see here, and even the ones we're out of network. If you check with your own insurance plan, they can pay sometimes up to 50–60% that they'll pay you back. So, and people are using health savings cards too, and things like that. So it's very important to know about Medicare 65 and older, that it's only for these. So we do have to say that, unfortunately. But dietitians as a whole are fighting to change that, because a lot of people are upset. We're upset about it. And we're working on that, because we definitely need to help our older population, seniors. And that is it. And that is a basil tofu stir fry from I want to say Simon's Port Orchard, but I don't remember. But anyway, I just love Thai food. That's one of the best places, because if they bring down salt, they have tons of vegetable options on a typical Thai restaurant menu. So, okay. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm very easily found online, just lighthousenutrition.com. And yep, that is it. Those are some different references. If you want a fuller list of references, we were not able to get those in time, but you can definitely contact us if you want to find out some of the sources. Okay, so I will leave it right there for you. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, so you can always, if we run out of time, you can always email me with questions as well, and I'd love to help you out. And thank you, Elizabeth, so much, and for you guys for participating.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
You're
I'm
welcome.
gonna check Facebook Live, see if we have any questions there. We do not. So I'm going to stop the live stream and then open it up for any questions here in the Zoom meeting. We
Okay.
thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you, Elizabeth.